What's going on between Bubba Wallace and Denny Hamlin? The driver of the number 45 car for Michael Jordan's NASCAR team, 23XI Racing, is under fire for what transpired in Las Vegas. Bubba Wallace lashed out at Kyle Larson after being shoved into a wall during a furious race in Las Vegas, despite appearing to purposefully hook him on the track in retribution. So, let's see what others at NASCAR have to say about Wallace's behavior. But before we begin, do subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. After a crash at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace made a beeline for defending champion Kyle Larson and tried to start a fight with him. Wallace was enraged by Larson's behavior and tried to punch him in the face. In the first race of the third round of the playoffs, Wallace had a fast car and has led a total of 29 laps. He was obviously in the lead. Wallace was not able to advance to the playoffs, and Larson was knocked out of the competition in the previous week. The incident started when Larson tried to make a 3-wide pass on Wallace, which resulted in Larson sliding up the track and colliding with Wallace. Kevin Harvick, who was in the middle of the pack, dropped out of the bunch. Because Wallace did not move his vehicle to make place for Larson, Larson was forced to use his Chevrolet to force Wallace's Toyota into the wall. After that, Wallace went back down the track, followed Larson's car down to the apron, and then hooked him in what appeared to be an act of premeditated revenge. Larson attempted to get away from Wallace by turning away from him and lifting his arms many times to block Wallace's shoves. But Wallace managed to get off multiple shots until a NASCAR safety staffer intervened and separated the two. Wallace stated that he did not intentionally crash into Larson. However, both Larson and Bell saw it as evident revenge on Wallace's part. Wallace faces the possibility of a penalty from NASCAR if the sanctioning body agrees that he purposefully reacted. Wallace explained, "He is smart enough to know how easily these vehicles break, so when you are shoved against the fence purposefully, as Larson did attempt to get him to lift, the steering was gone. Since he was aware of how readily these cars can break, Larson was able to prevent the steering from being destroyed." Larson tried to make a 3-wide dive bomb, but he never cleared Wallace, and Wallace doesn't lift. Wallace responded that he is sorry, but he doesn't lift weights. He's still getting used to sprinting in the lead. He wasn't even in position to lift, and he didn't lift either. As a result, they are both useless now. Just one very poor move before Larson is put to death. When asked what he was trying to convey to Larson by beginning to shove him, Wallace responded, "He knows. He's aware that what he did was inappropriate. He always wanted to know what I was up to, and he never gave me the all clear," Wallace explained. But what about Bell? Didn't it just become collateral damage? Wallace, who is also a Toyota driver like Bell, replied, "Sports," while shrugging his shoulders. Larson said that he wasn't surprised that Wallace hooked him, despite the fact that he struck the wall the previous week at Charlotte, which contributed to his elimination from the playoffs. Larson explained his strategy by saying, "Wallace definitely made an aggressive move into turn 3, went in low, got loose, and pursued it up a bit." Larson explained that Wallace made it to Larson's right front, and it pulled Wallace against the wall and made Wallace tight. Larson had no doubt that Wallace could strike back at them. Wallace had justification for his anger, but the race wasn't over for him until he exacted his revenge. It is what it is. Simply acting aggressively led him to becoming frustrated, at which point he struck back. Given the amount of scrutiny that NASCAR has been subjected to in relation to its brand new next-gen car, he believed it was inappropriate for Wallace to smash into Larson. Kurt Busch, who was Larson's teammate at Hendrick Motorsports, has been forced to withdraw from the competition as a result of a concussion he sustained in July. Alex Bowman, Larson's teammate at Hendrick Motorsports, missed his 3rd straight race with a concussion. Larson doesn't believe it's probably the appropriate thing to do. He thinks with everything that has been going on here lately, with head injuries, he doesn't think it's probably the proper thing to do. Larson is sure with everything going on, Wallace will know that he made a mistake in the retribution aspect, and he is sure Wallace will think twice about it next time. He added that he anticipated Wallace to be armed and ready to fight when the latter approached the vehicle in which he was trapped. Larson shared his thoughts, stating, "I saw him walking over, so I figured he would do something. He had every reason to feel angry about the situation. I'd rather have that fight than have him wreak havoc on our vehicles in a potentially hazardous way." Bell, who will be rated 34th on Sunday, will likely slip to last place in the 8-driver playoff rankings, remarked they got the short end of the stick when referring to the collision between Larson and Wallace. It's sad because their performance is capable of racing for the championship, but it doesn't appear that they are going to get there. NASCAR brawls can become a lot worse than this. Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer of the Xfinity Series got into a brawl on the pit road following a race in April. Several news sites have compiled lists of the greatest NASCAR battles, and the 1979 Daytona 500 fights are among the most legendary in history. Sunday's events were one-sided, and Larson had nothing to do with it. When Wallace pushed him hard with both hands 3 times, he turned away and tried to back away without moving. Everyone in the broadcast booth assumed Wallace intentionally collided with Larson, and this belief was reinforced by spectators and on social media. Driver Joey Logano believes Wallace may have killed Larson based on the location of the crash. Logano stated that the way they got even was not acceptable. It may be a little better if Wallace turned him to the infield, but it's not allowed to hook someone in the right rear in the dogleg. He doesn't like it when people use cars as weapons. Wallace, for one, claimed that striking the wall damaged his car and made it difficult to handle. Wallace told NBC Sports after the race that they know how easily these cars can break. Larson intentionally pushed him against the fence to slow him down. Larson's justification was not entirely persuasive, and NBC's on-screen telemetry appeared to punch holes in it. Wallace was traveling full speed when he hit Larson, which makes little sense if his steering was malfunctioning. Wallace's actions could be interpreted as a sign of dissatisfaction at the time, which Larson can understand. Whenever Wallace's name is brought up, trolls flood the comment sections with insults. They believe he is a driver who benefits from affirmative action, helped eliminate the Confederate flag from race events, and invented the tale that a noose was placed in his garage stall at the 2020 Talladega Super Speedway. The FBI investigated and concluded that it was not a hate crime because the rope had been there before Wallace, and the door handle was designed to resemble a noose. Throughout its investigation, NASCAR checked over 1,600 garages and discovered no other poles had been tied in the shape of a noose. Wallace made waves this year when he appeared furious after finishing second and screamed at his crew chief during another race. In this regard, Wallace has said he competes with a lot of attention, which can lead to anger. He should have done a better job of reflecting his partners and core team principles than he did by letting his wrath follow him out of the automobile, now that he thinks about it. Because we grow and develop as we go through life, he also highlighted the lessons he took away from the experience. The lessons he learned during his best season to date will serve him well, even if he never gets over this suspension. What are your thoughts regarding this? Let us know in the comments below. And that brings us to the end of the video. Feel free to let us know what you think about this video. If you like the video, then please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more updates on NASCAR.